it's really important.
It is so. So I'm not academical guy. I do implement everything what I say I do implement. So this is why I think it is so important for the clients and for the students and everyone. So
Well,
it works.
It's a very interesting study in leadership, and maybe we'll talk about this more. You know, how you got the European Union on board, and the commission and the report. I've been looking at that website, so we'll talk more about it. But from a leadership perspective, it's also very admirable.
What is interesting, I never consider myself as a leader, so I'm just a simple man.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, good. And we have one of my former students joining us, Gao.
Because noon, so students must be getting off their classes. So we'll wait for a few minutes and then we'll begin.
Wyatt, admit. Okay, another one of my students. Hi, Wyatt. Join us. I know you're on your phone, so no worries, but happy to see you here. And thank you for making time. I know you're probably at work today, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And Wyatt works for a concrete company who's really, from what I hear in class, is very cutting edge the way they manage and do things. But I'm sure the becoming more efficient is something that will be near and dear to his heart. After he graduates, he's going to be moving up within the company. So we're really proud of him.
I just saw a recently very interesting presentation, especially for concrete companies. Generally the management or the visual management of the concrete inside during the transportation. It was a French company, but a very interesting solution, very interesting. So full control through visual control, which is not a standard in this type of business, but it was very interesting.
Well, fantastic. So hopefully we'll have time to talk about that and he can ask any questions about it. I think these case studies are really interesting. It looks like we do have a few more students joining us. So maybe we'll give it one more minute and then get started in honor of your time, Michael. And I know it's late there. Okay, Vipin, should we go ahead and get started?
Sure. Yes.
All right.
Okay, so welcome all the students, faculty and staff members. Welcome to our special webinar on Beyond Artificial Intelligence with Industry 5.0 founder Michael Rada from Czech Republic. This webinar is jointly organized by Center for Global Management, Prime, the Principles of Responsible Management and Education, the Management and Ideas Departments in School of Entrepreneurship. Today, we have an incredible opportunity to learn from someone who has defied the odds and made a remarkable impact on the world of industry and sustainability. We are talking about Michael Rada, a true inspiration for all of us, especially those of you who are first-generation students in the college. Michael's story is one of determination and perseverance. Despite not having formal academic education, he rose from being a steel factory worker to becoming a board member of one of the largest Japanese corporations. His journey into entrepreneurship started later in his life, earning him the title Latepreneur. He has received more than 30 awards for his work in sustainability, logistics, and waste prevention. With thousands of articles, videos, and interviews under his belt, Michael has become a thought leader in the field of Industry 5.0. Despite his busy schedule, he has delivered hundreds of keynotes and webinars at universities around the world. He's passionate about sharing his knowledge and inspiring the next generation of leaders. Michael's story reminds us with the hard work and determination, anything is possible. He didn't let his background hold him back, neither should we. So let's seize this opportunity to learn from Michael Rada, to be inspired by his journey, and to dream big about our own futures. Together, we can make a difference and build a better world for ourselves and future generations. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Michael Rada. and Professor Elizabeth is going to be moderating the session. So let's turn it over to Michael Rada, who is actually gets up every day at 4 a.m. Czech Republic time. It's 9 p.m. He's usually asleep by 8 p.m. So thank you, Michael.
You are welcome, and thank you for the opportunity to be with all of you. I am really happy because your university is the first in the US who hold Industry 5.0 official webinar. So I'm really happy. And please tell me if you see the screen.
Yes.
You should see the full screen. So hello, everyone, and nice to have you here. Today's topic is Industry 5.0 Beyond Artificial Intelligence. And as Vipin introduced me, I'm Michael Rada, and I'm human. And this is the only title which you find for 10 years on my business card. And at the same time, for 9 years, I'm Industry 5.0 founder, because I was the first in the world who named Industry 5.0 and its principles. So what it is, Industry 5.0, let's get immediately deeper in the topic. So generally, it is the first industrial evolution ever led by man. So if somebody told you that it is the fifth industrial revolution, it's not. And at the same time, it represents the missing link between nature and human-made ecosystems, which is very important, especially today. It was launched on December 1st, 2015, and it recognizes and prevents 5 types of waste: physical, social, urban, process, and the wasting of time. In 2024, it is already represented in 118 countries. This is the network which I lead from this office where I'm sitting and speaking to you. And generally, it is not based on artificial intelligence, but it is based on natural intelligence, something which we get at the moment when we are born. And it utilizes so-called on-the-ground mines or existing resources. But because we should speak about artificial intelligence as well. So what it is, that's quite interesting, because Wikipedia says that it is intelligence exhibited by machines and computer systems. The article about artificial intelligence has in Wikipedia 22,000 words, 127,000 letters. And it may be interesting to learn that the article about Industry 5.0 does not exist in Wikipedia. Wikipedia blocked it since the very first moment. The term is blocked by Wikipedia, same as my name. So you will not find anything on Wikipedia. What is interesting that artificial intelligence is not new. Generally, it was introduced already in 1956 at the workshop at Dartmouth College in the USA. And maybe you don't know that the term a robot, which is closely connected to artificial intelligence, was introduced in 1921. And it may surprise you even more that it was introduced 75 kilometers from a place where I'm sitting right now. It was introduced in a country called Czechoslovakia, and this country separated in two in 1992. So right now I am in the first part in Czech Republic. And probably you have heard about the 3 laws of robotics, which has been introduced by Isaac Asimov in 1942. But I'm not sure if you know that in 2000, the United Nations acknowledged the existing, the existence and the risk of cybercrime. And just 23 years later, the estimated value of cybercrime in a year was $523,000 per second. The prediction for 2023 delivered at the end of 2022 was half this amount. I just spoke before this event, I spoke with my ambassador in Norway, and he said, Michael, do you know that Norway has 5.6 million inhabitants? I said, yeah, I have heard about it. And he asked me, do you know how much crime related to phone and to digital communication happened in Norway just in the first 4 months of this year. And I estimated 10 million. He said, no, it was 500 million attacks in just 4 months. You know, it is our choice what we will choose as our tool. We can choose a smartphone. You know, you have it probably. You are 24/7 connected. It's your data terminal. It's your camera, video, social media platform. It's your email. You can even make mobile phone calls and SMS, but probably you do not so frequently. But have you ever heard about a voice phone? Probably not. This is a phone which allows you to do a phone call and SMS messages. You know, the smartphone usually can take up to 87% of your free time. In contrary, the voice phone took just 3 because it let you make only phone calls and send SMS messages. Which one will you use? This is the voice phone, and you can see it here in my hand. What is interesting, this mobile phone is Nokia 6310i, and it is the only mobile phone in a mobile phone history, not a single one repeated, which was 3 years in a row the best business mobile phone in the world. And this voice phone teach me how not to be addicted to my smartphone. You know, because we have around us, we have a lot of digital waste. Did you know that 85% to 92% of data stored in data centers will never be used again? Did you know that 75 to 85% of the images you took on your mobile phone will immediately become obsolete because you will not look at it? They just block the memory. 95% of data scanned by barcode reader, for example, in the warehouse or in a shop, will never be used. They are just taken. And what is even stranger, that 75% of people who has the weather app in their mobile phone, if you ask them what is the weather, they don't look out of the window. They look on the app. If there will be an electric shutdown or blackout, it will result in permanent data access loss. I don't know, I am using frequently LinkedIn, but I have learned 2 years ago that LinkedIn store the analytics of my work just for 24 months after it is deleted. We have created a digital landfills which consume more water than cities with a lot of people inside. Many people ask me during the development of Industry 5.0, how did you start it? What was the development? So we can look at it from the financial point of view. At the beginning, there was really $0 US. I have no money when I started. But then we reached 250K, followed by 470 trillion. And at the end, there is 1 quadrillion. This is more than all companies put together. But even more interesting it is if you look at it from the perspective of time, because all this happened in just 9 years. The Big Four named Industry 5.0 2 years ago the biggest industrial trend of a century. But we have to say what is the reality. You know, I was born on December 24th, 1971. And the day our planet was called blue marble. But in 2019, it was not blue anymore. It was covered with environmental damage so strong that the blue phase disappeared almost. But in 2021, something very strange happened because the blue phase show up again, not because we changed our behavior, but because a virus locked us down. We live on a planet around which we have been able in few decades create a global landfill on an orbit with more than 170 million pieces of space debris. And I think, I don't know what is the name of the man in California who just received a shipment from the space station. That's a landfill over there. It's very, very dangerous. And what we do to the planet, we dig inside, hunting for only criteria of success, which is more. More money, more people, more car, more companies, more if you ask Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, anyone else who is in the Fortune 500, how they get to the ladder, they will answer, I have more than the others. So this is what we do to the planet. We do it despite the fact that currently we are living more than 8 billion people on the planet. But very few knows that 200 years ago, it was just 1 billion. 100 years ago, it was 1.5. And despite of 2 world wars, 2 wars pandemics, and more than 650 war conflicts, local war conflicts, we have 5 times more people living on a planet. And in 2050, some predicts that it should be 11 billion people living here. Just remember the last image I showed you. We are living here in 206 countries, according to UN 193. We are speaking 7,000 languages. We are riding 1 billion cars. And we let 9 million people die hungry every single year, despite the fact that every single day, more than 23 million metric tons of food and crops is being wasted. We let 800,000 people die thirsty every year, despite the fact that only California crude oil industry consume every single day more than 347 million liters of drinking water. And this is not all. You know, we are planting our food to throw it away because the leaves are not green enough for the buyer in a chain store. We put the overproduction on a landfills and in the rivers not to spoil the market price. We carry our water in firefighting tanks, not knowing that the same amount of water which is inside is needed to produce just one and simple hamburger. And we do it on a planet where 1 sip of water can save not 1, but 2 lives. The factories store packaging, which they don't need on the parking lots for employees, waiting till it becomes waste. The factories has walls lined with environmental certificates, and behind the walls, there is a landfill. We waste products which are not fine for 1, but can serve hundreds or even thousands of others. And we listen to the words of World Bank, which says that till 2050, the waste volumes will grow. In some destination, it will even double, despite the fact that almost everything can be recycled or repurposed, but in fact, only 13.5% is being recycled. And this is what makes the waste industry the 3rd most profitable industry in the world, following the war industry and the crude oil industry. Industry 5.0 is not built on the top of a pyramid like the waste pyramid, reduce, reuse, recycle. That's a lie, because it does not work. When I realized that 10 years ago, I decided to build another groundstone, a groundstone which will be stable even if the world will shake. And it's a cube. It's 6R instead of 3, and I will show you how it works. Firstly, you have to recognize that something must not become waste. And trust me, that's not easy if you wasted the item before. The second is even harder, because you have to reconsider what you do with the item which you just saved. And I can guarantee to you that you will fail for the 1st, 2nd, 3rd time. But when you succeed, you will start to change the world, because you realize. I have, as Wipin said, I wrote generally over 3,000 articles and published in the 10 years. But this is 1 page which I need 8 years to write, 1 and only page. And unfortunately, it was never needed in a human history, because never in a history humans wasted so much resources. The waste prevention framework is already translated in 60 languages. As you can see, it was introduced in 2021. And the key about it, every single piece is you can apply right now after the event, because it will work. And it is important to understand that there is no waste if we do not waste. And what is even stranger, that not a single legislation in the world, not a single one, define how waste is created. So of course it must be part of the framework. And again, it is important to understand that wasting is not a feature of a product or material, but it is the result of human behavior. And single use is one of the most common forms of wasting. You may hear something about degrowth, and many people say that degrowth is something bad. It's not. It is the very opposite. But those, I call them giants, who do not want you to know, they call it bad. You know, degrowth is not a sign of fail, but a stability. Degrowth, in fact, does not represent scarcity, but the mindset of enough. Degrowth doesn't mean lower profitability. In fact, every Industry 5.0 project is make companies more profitable. Degrowth is one of the groundstones of evolution, and it does not waste resources. It does not destabilize the system. And what is interesting, it does not need capital investment. This is why many, including World Bank and so on, do not want you know this truth. Degrowth is a tool which nature uses regularly, not only the seasons of the year, but the day is the time to grow, and the night is the time to degrowth or rest. And what is interesting that we try to copy a lot of things from nature, but we did not copy this. As I said at the beginning, Industry 5.0 is restore the missing link between nature and human-made ecosystem. It is the first industrial evolution ever led by man, by human. It is a new mindset of people and businesses from wasteful to wasteless. It delivers results without the need of capital investment. It's based on the principles of systematic waste prevention using the on-the-ground methods. And it's based on transparency, profit sharing, and efficiency. And please understand one important fact. Industry 5.0 is not a sales tool or a buzzword. It is a new global ecosystem. You know, we are living in the times where you in a school, your education was digitalized from one day to another due to COVID. Work of many was digitalized very similar. And our leisure time was digitalized a long time ago. So it looks like that the only thing which needs to be digitalized is human himself. I will show you how our home will look like if this happens. And this is not a mistake, because data don't need any light. I recognized that back in 2010. And I decided I do not want to live on the bottom of a black hole. And I started to build another world. I call it wasteless world. And I do it for 11 years. And don't worry, I'm not alone. My name is Michael Rada. I'm human. And together with me, there are already people, so-called Industry 5.0 ambassadors and heroes in 118 countries of the world. Allowing access to Industry 5.0 to 93% of global population. And I think it is very important to understand one thing, that the giants start to shrink when the humans start to grow. And this is the presentation which I like to share with you. And before any other thing, let me share with you time to think, time to act. I have 5 topics which you can think about. The first is, if you can identify 5 types of waste in your education system according to the Industry 5.0, and what will be the countermeasures? Can you do the same in relation to your mobile phone? And what about utilizing Albert Einstein, the world's most famous formula, E equal mc squared? What do you think it will mean in economy or in education? And what about identify the growth in logistics? Because I know that your region is the logistic gate to the US and not only there. And the last one, In few days, exactly on April 30, 2024, there will be the first global zero data day. No connection. But it will not be pushed. It will be realized by you. You are the user, but you should prove that you are not slave of the technology. So, and that's all. As you see, I cannot speak with you. Even my English is not good, but you do understand what I say. And because I do not have academic education, I cannot serve you charts and complicated stuff. I don't do that. But what I can do, I can share with you the way how I reach and how we can go together, because together in unity, this is how the world which I showed you will be built. So thank you, and there is a part for Elizabeth, I think, to take over.
Thank you so much, Michael. That was really inspiring and wonderful to hear about this new mindset. And really, the first step is just for us to start thinking about things differently was one of my big takeaways from your message. So I'm looking forward to hearing what the audience has to say. So if you have any questions for Michael, go ahead and type them into the chat and we'll take a look at those. But to get started on and before we get to the 5 slides or the 5 activities, I was wondering if you could walk us through a case of how your methodology was applied in a company. How does one go about getting these ideas taken up and activated, and what did that process look like?
So, for example, right now I'm working for the largest steel factory here in my country. It's 185 years old. And the company approached me because they would like to be more environmental friendly. So we look at it from the perspective of ESG, the basic principles, but ESG is about theory. So I am not theoretical guy. So I walk through the factory and we start to identify issues. Or let's say we call it the profusion audit. And it was very interesting because we found a lot of things which nobody think before. And one of the biggest one, which I spent right now a lot of time, was example, during the steel production, you produce something which is called iron slag. It's a waste out of the furnace. And this waste can be sold as for construction a business. So it must not end on the landfills. But at the moment when this slag is created, so when it leaves the furnace, it has the temperature of 1,200 degrees Celsius. So it's like magma generally. And to work with that and to sell it later, you have to cool it down with water. So you spend a lot of water cooling down the energy which is there. So you waste a lot of energy and at the same time a lot of water. We spend the time and find a solution how we will make out of it. We will firstly utilize the original energy. Secondary, we will make out of it the heat battery, iron slag battery, IBS battery. It's completely new type of battery, which will help to overcome the issues with the electric grid. And you can do it with electricity or you can do it with the heat. So both will be possible. It will be mobile. And I was surprised because nobody in the world, not a single company, came to this idea. And I came to it because I was before working for other companies and they process other things and so on. And because in Industry 5.0 in my mind, I collect all this idea and I use this 6R processing. I realized the potential. We start to implement, and very soon there will be official announcement and the numbers. And just for you to make the image, in one foundry, per day, there is generated 1.5 tons. 1,500 tons per day, and it's just one type of slag. So it's generally the volume which in one day or 2 days will fill completely your university. And this is because, if you work in factories, the people there can work great, but they have something which is called, we call it professional blindness. They don't see the alternatives. They are great workers, but they don't have time for the alternatives. This is why it is important to wake them up, to borrow them my eyes, to discuss the ideas, and to show them that it can be done. And at that moment, you change the people. You wake them up, you gave them the tool, and this is how you process. You remember in the presentation, there was two pictures of a radish. One was there, and then there was the comment that you throw it away. It is really taken in a factory. So at the time when I entered it, it is the second largest distributor of fruit and vegetables in my country. They have 5 warehouses, and every single month they produce more than 2,000 tons of waste of this kind. So no bad, just not nice looking, or the leaves has been not green enough. When I left after 6 months, from 2,000 tons, there has been 20. Because we have found a way how to utilize it. Of course, you cannot sell it as it is, but you can cut it. You can freeze it. You can make soup. You can make, I don't know, you can try. I make smoothies out of a radish. Try, unbelievable color. Without any, just a little olive oil. But it was so delicious, and the color was, I never saw such color. It was really great. And that was reached in 6 months. And the company was working here for 30 years. So that's the way. You have to be first. You have to change your mindset. You have to be the role model to the others, to show them it is possible. I spend most of my time in a boiler suit in factories. The general managers just pay me, but I work with the workers.
So I heard a few things from your story. So one of them that stood out for me is the idea of just having to get on the ground and be on the front lines and seeing what are the daily activities. It's not something that can be done from the C-suite, from your fancy office, but getting on the floor, seeing what the processes are, so that spark of creativity can come to imagine a different way of doing things. And the other thing I heard then is that's hard sometimes for people that are in a routine, right? The workers that are doing it every day, because they are just primed to see things in a certain way. And then with your heat example, that was fascinating, because then you're looking at a resource that was just going to waste, right? And then actually taking more resources because the water was required to cool it. So I think you're feeding 2 birds with one hand, right? Is reducing the water usage and developing a new product, the batteries that you had mentioned. So those were some of the things that stand up, and we'll come back to that story in a minute, but I did want to get to Marlon's question. He had typed in the chat. Marlon, I don't know if you're able to unmute yourself where you could ask this yourself. Otherwise, I'm happy to read it.
Sure. My comment and question is that the approach seems counterintuitive for profit-based corporations and capitalistic societies for Industry 5.0. And so I have a question, which is, what are your largest challenges to promoting Industry 5.0?
Thank you for the question. Before I answer, I have to tell you that I lived for 18 years. First 18 years of my life, I lived in a communist country. Czechoslovakia, Communist Republic, was my country. So I did not move, but we have the revolution and it ended. So it's not communist country anymore. To answer your question, it is very interesting, because I never expected that people like Greenpeace will be against me, that people like United Nations will block me. I never expected that. But the result is, or the reality is, that many people live from the system. I call them giants in general. I call them giants. I do not want to call them by name. So I call them giants. And these giants try to stop me. But they have one big difficulty. In the entire 11 years where I'm doing my job, and I started with 42, I never never in the time had any investment, funding, or anything like that. I get all the money which I get. For example, I load a truck with my hands, I get paid, and most of this profit gets to make the next steps on the journey. And this is how I was able to create a global network in 118 countries in 21 months. Before I was working for the second largest Japanese corporation, and we need for one country 2 years. So this is the difference. And the next difference is that I break silos. I break silos between industries, between levels, between teachers and students. Breaking the silo is very important. So the biggest obstacle, if I will have right now the opportunity to stand in front of the global audience, like everybody was watching the first flight of Elon Musk, the private people to the orbit and so on. If I will be able to be there, I will change immediately a huge number of people, really billions. Because, my aim is not to be rich, and it was never. My aim is to build wasteless world for all. And right now, there is a very interesting part. If I say to you, what you see in a wasteless world, I can guarantee that you will see a lot of things, but you will see three things will be there. The first will be the clean water, which you can drink or even swim inside without any harm. It will be there no matter where you are. The second is clean air, especially after COVID and the face mask, you will see there. And the third one are the smiling faces of people you love around you. And it doesn't matter if you are rich, poor, these three things will be there. You can have there a new car, a house, whatever, but these three will be there. And this is what is connecting the people, because they see in Industry 5.0, we use a very special language. We call it the language of efficiency. And this is the language I'm using right now. It's not English. I'm speaking to you from my heart, and you receive it in your heart. And the heart does not care whether I am big, small, black, white, whatever. It's a heart. And what is interesting, Marlon, do you know what is the only role model of Industry 5.0? The only one from the very beginning. There is only one role model.
No, I don't know. I'm just hearing about it for the first time, so I don't know much.
I will tell you, it's nature. Because nature does not waste. The term waste was introduced by humans. Nature does not care if I pick the apple, or you will do, or if some animal will eat it, or if it becomes soil. For nature, everything is utilized. But because we try to differentiate from nature to be better than the nature, we are not. If you look at the moment at Dubai underwater, it's all that. And the great part is that this is why I have on my business card the title human. I have even a president before as a title, but never in my life, never. I feel so proud every time when I hand over the business card to someone, and all the time the reaction is the same. So I hand it over the same style, the Japanese style. So we hand it with 2 hands so he can read or she can read. The reaction is all the time the same. They look at the business card, look at me, look at the business card again, and start talking. I don't need to say a single word. And what is even more interesting, if I enter companies, and usually the companies enter me already, so they ask for support. I'm asking the CEO or the owner or someone only one question for 10 years. One only question. Do you want to generate waste or profit? And in 10 years, I get only one answer.
What's that last one? Based or profit? I didn't make out the first word.
Waste or profit.
Oh, waste or profit. Yeah.
Because waste is cost generally. So if you have no waste, if you prevent the waste to happen, your profit will increase. So simple it is.
Yeah. So I had a follow-up. Is that okay, Elizabeth? Okay. My follow-up question was, how has the concept of degrowth been received, especially by like top economic countries? And also, can you explain more about the concept of degrowth? I think it's something I really believe in, and I'd like to hear more about it.
Degrowth is one of the terms which was hijacked by giants to make it negative. But it is not the reality, really. If you look at a tree, the tallest tree will not survive the first wind. But a tree which does not grow so fast, and they use the time to relax a little bit to grow again, it will be stable. So the growth is stability. And of course, the difficulty with the companies and the big players, and I am in advisory board for Indian government, so I am really up to the level, up to the top people. And if you speak with them, the issue is that everything today is based on the economical principles. And as I call it, the principle of more. More is the only criteria of success. They don't ask you, what is interesting, they don't ask you how many cars you sell if you produce them. They ask you, the bank asks you how many you produced. This is why we have reached and China right now will face a big issues. And I'm working with China for 30 years. So I am a logistician. I did not say that, but I am a logistician for 30 years. You know, I improved the global supply chains and similar. So I even educated. And if you enter any company in China, any as a buyer, the first where they will lead you is a warehouse, and this warehouse is full of one and the same item. Because they have some support from the government and so on, they know that if they do not sell it for the full price, they sell it for 20% and still they will have some profit on it. I don't know if you know about fashion industry. In fashion industry, if you are a buyer and you would like to buy a t-shirt, you buy 10 pieces. And at the moment when you buy it, you know that only 3 will be sold for the full price. 2 will be sold for half the price, and 5 will be wasted. This is a calculation which is used by fashion industry. And it is similar. So the degrowth is the stability. If you look at your parents, if you look at your grandparents, at the time, they did not waste it. There even exists an archaeological, I will call it department or a segment. They analyze landfills. And it's quite new, so it's 10 years or so old. And they find a very interesting finding. At the times of scarcity, people did not waste at all. There was no waste. So again, if I enter the people who go for profit and I ask them if they would like to generate waste or profit, they will choose profit. And if I say the profit is based on principles of degrowth, they are listening very carefully, because if you will be a baker and you bake 10 breads and you know 10 breads will be bought, you will be fine. And some advisor came to you, PricewaterhouseCoopers came to you, KPMG, and they will say, your bread is so good, baked 100 of those. And you said, but I have only 10. I think like, no, you will sell it. It's a market demand. They will use the term market demand. So you will hear to them, you will pay them a lot of money for this advice. You will start to bake 100 breads and you will sell only 10. They have no obligation. They just gave you the advice, which you follow. It was your decision. But 90 breads will be wasted. So this is the degrowth is needed to be understood. I wrote an article, a book about it. I will share it with you. It's called the Logistic and Degrowth. It's you can download it. It's not long, but it's quite well explaining.
Well, let's turn to that as one of the questions that you had posed for the students. And so feel free to jump in, students, as far as the in the chat, or, you know, raise your hand and we'll unmute you to ask yourself. But one of the questions you posed then was, what would degrowth in logistics look like? And as you noted, our region, you know, the Inland Empire in Southern California, we are like the heart and soul of the global logistics, and for better or worse, right? So the argument for it is that it creates jobs and has made us world renowned. The negative side that doesn't get talked about so much is the air pollution and air quality, the traffic congestion, asthma rates, those kind of things. And then also the quality of jobs, how much your workers getting paid. So Michael, maybe spark our imagination and maybe share a story about, what might be possible for the Inland Empire if we talked about, a degrowth model of logistics.
So degrowth is closely connected to transportation and storage, of course. So or logistics in the way we understand logistics. And if somebody came to me and say our trucks are all the time full because there are in Europe 33 Euro pallets is the full truck, I say I don't care. Tell me how much space is consumed. And because if the Euro pallets are just 150 high, there is another 2 meters of a load. And if it will allow the weight, why shouldn't I use it? So the efficiency is in overall efficiency. But the issue is that if you are a truck provider or a trucker who run his own truck, and you even know that the truck is being shipped half full, you will not tell to your client because you would like to have, okay, half full, but I will have 2 trips. But there is an interesting part. If you tell to your client, and you will be able, for example, to set up a milk run system with someone else and co-loading and so on. So there are many ways how to fill the truck. Then you can receive even less money from the first one, but you will receive from the other one as well. So you will have a higher profit, they will have a lower price. And at the same time, you will be never empty. So milk run systems is very important. I do specialize myself in development of packaging, reusable packaging. And let me show you one thing. You probably never saw before. You see a small package with very interesting surprise inside. Let me unpack it. The packaging is functional packaging. So, and here you see it's generally a very special type of bottle. It's called origami bottle. And again, if you want to collapse it, you just press it here in the middle and it starts to collapse. It was developed not in Japan, it was developed in Bulgaria. So it's quite interesting. And of course, if I develop a packaging, I need to know exactly how it will be used. It must be collapsible if it's possible. It must be collapsible. It must be reusable. And in Europe, we divide packaging into single use, returnable, but there exists one more category which nobody or very few knows about. This is reusable. And if I take the example of a plastic bottle, many people came to my office and they say, but Michael, you have here plastic bottles, you are crazy. I said, no, do you know why I have it here? Why this bottle is single use? Because somebody said that. But you can empty it and you can fill it with water again. Nothing will happen if you do it for 10 times. I have here bottles which I test for 7 years. They are not clean anymore. I don't drink the water, but I use the water for the flowers which I have on the roof in front of my window. You know, so there is a lot of interest which are against efficient logistics. But if there is someone like you who will enter, who will see it with independent eyes, and this is very important to see it from the independent eyes, then you will understand there is a lot of can be done. I am loading every 14 days full trucks of used cable drums. The small ones are just 16 kilo. The big ones are 60. And I loaded with my hands to a truck because I found someone and they came from Switzerland to Czech Republic with cables. Here the cable is processed and they are thrown away after one and single use. I will share with you the picture. You will not recognize that it was used. It looks new. And this volume of wasting, it's so important. So first of all, make all transportation more efficient, cooperate cooperation is very, very important and is a key. You can do it through milk runs, and there are many systems using the new technology like blockchains and so on can help a lot. And there exists great system. Shipmonk is one of them. Amazon, I am not really happy with their packaging. I try to discuss with them, not interested. And the worst part about the returns are being burned. We have here built the warehouse, 100,000 square meters warehouse just for the European returns, and 90% is being burned. So they pick it up, deliver it, and throw it on a landfill. Nothing wrong with the items, with many of the items. Something, of course, can be. So this is what you can do. And of course, it means a reduction of the volumes, but at the same time, you can concentrate more on the process. In Industry 5.0, we put people there, not because they are workers, they should run like they do in an Amazon warehouse. I make the measurements in there, unbelievable, very hard to work there. And they just now implement robots. But what the robots do? The robots just speed up the process. But still, the market demand, which I mentioned before, market demand does not exist. It's a marketing and sales term, which has nothing to do with reality. The issue is that the volume of production is growing, but we still have one mouth, two hands, and we are not able to consume everything what is being produced. And here came the discrepancy. This is why I just have a talk today with Bill McLean, which is an author from the US. We are meeting every week. And he says, Michael, but everything what we produce is wasted. And currently it is 80% of all what we produce. Can you imagine? 80%. It's like in Czech, we have so big bread. And if you just cut the loaf and you throw the rest away, this is how we humans behave. Because of economical incentives and everything, completely wrong. So we must narrow. I spoke about the wasting of food. That one of the topic, because there is a lot of food going through your region. You know, when I spoke about these numbers with the president of the Logistics Academy, he said, but Mr. Rada, it's just bad logistics. It's on the wrong place, on the wrong side. When they started the war in Ukraine, I don't know whether you notice in Nicaragua, there are two countries for Nicaragua economy, which has been the biggest importers of bananas. And these bananas are the main export item for Nicaragua. And these two countries are Ukraine and Russia. So from one day to another, 80% of the export completely eliminated. And you can do a lot of it, bananas, but bananas are very special because you pick them unripe, and there is a very complicated process how to get them ripe. I know it because the corporation, the Japanese, which I work for, they are the only importer of bananas to Japan, entire Japan. And you don't see in Japan bad banana. It's very expensive. But they know exactly every single step in logistics. And that's interesting. So it must be narrowed. So, and it will be great if the, I don't know if you know that, for example, exist shipping containers where can be collapsed when empty. For 10 years exists this. Why it's not adopted? Not because it does not work. It's approved, certified, everything. But because the shipping companies, the big owners of the ships, their business is to transport containers, not to do it efficient. And that's the issue. We have to look at the core business of the people which we are speaking about. You have another question, Marlon, or not? I thought that you raise your hand up or not. It was just a mistake. Okay. So I don't know if I answered your question, Elizabeth.
Yes, you did very nicely. So the two things that popped out to me is that the students might be thinking about then is one, how to have a more imaginative viewpoint of the world. When you were talking about logistics, that's not where I expected you to go with that excess space and how to condense packaging. And yet it makes perfect sense. And I just love that origami bottle. My goodness. And, think about what a value add that would be if Amazon did, convert their packaging to that. Most of the packaging you get from them is just empty space, right? And so I really love that mindset shift. The other thing that I really heard you say then was getting to more like a circular economy where things are cyclical or circular, not instead of a linear ending up in a landfill. And do you want to speak any more to that? And I loved your metaphor, nature. I always think about a tree and how it drops its leaves, but those don't go to waste, right? They get decomposed in the soil to feed other mushrooms and fungi.
Exactly.
And then it nourishes the soil for the tree, right? So that's a metaphor I see that your model offers.
I will show you one, and right now I will recommend everyone to look at the camera because this is an example. I will show you that you do not understand what is waste. It's not your fault. You have been never told that. But I developed a methodology which I show you with my business card. Okay, so if we are in one room, I am used to give you my business card. You take it from me. Okay. But right now, please erase this memory. We are again in one room. We come to each other, and in the middle of the room is completely new stainless steel bin. Okay, I came to you with the business card in my hand. I fall down, and the business card fall in the garbage bin. We came there. I do not have any second one, so I apologize. We look inside, and there is just the business card, nothing else. And you said, Michael, I would like to have it. So I apologize again. I take it out. I check it whether it's really clean. If this happened in Czech Republic, I hand it over to you and you take it. You take with this business card the right for a penalty, legal penalty of $200,000 US. And just now I will explain how it works. In almost every country, there are several definitions of waste in a law. One of the definitions is waste is something what you would like to get rid of. Nothing else, just this short sentence, which I call stupid, sorry for that. Because, if my wife would like to get rid of me, I become waste according to this law. And that's not a joke, it's a reality. But the second definition is better understandable. It says waste is something which you place on a location dedicated for waste storage. So in a garbage bin, container, whatever. And just now I will show you something very, very interesting. His hand is the edge of the garbage bin, okay? Here is the business card. Here is the business card. Here is waste. This is how it works. Nothing happened with the business card. Still, according to the law, it turns from something valuable into something which is cost. So what is waste prevention? I just catch it in the middle. I don't let it reach this stage. So if you have the packaging and it is single use, don't throw it in a container. I put it in a pile, and I'm sure there will be someone who will be interested to buy it. Probably not from your own business, it will be another business, but you don't care. The pallet is a pallet. If they need a special size, okay, it can be a little complicated, but still everything has its buyer. But very few know about this. So product, waste. And you just need to stretch your hand. Nothing else. It does not cost you anything. That's interesting. And in the logistics, there's a lot of similar examples. But the packaging, it's in every single business is packaging. I am working for a big US association for the hospitals. And the first project which we are realizing is changing the single-use packaging. I don't mean about the small packaging of the pills. I mean the how it's called, the main box, for example, to switch it to returnable. The savings, immediate savings, are higher than 40%. It's just need the system to be set up. And because you are in a logistic region, you have to have this open mindset. You have to have it. You have to see the bird view, not just this. That's not enough. And if you do, you have part of the solution already solved. just to need to implement it. And as I said, we can use the technology in or AI even, or blockchain. What is interesting, in Czech Republic, we have one saying or proverb. We say fire, it's a great servant, but a very bad master.
Yeah.
And if you take it for technology, it's exactly, we are right now at the moment, whether we will be the servants or the slaves of technology, and many already are, or whether we will keep our function as humans and the creative leaders of the future.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael. And we did get a question from Ruth. You'd like to share something? Yeah, we are at a time boundary, so thanking everybody who's coming. Ruth, if you want to go quickly and appreciate everybody staying, and then we'll sign off. Vipin will close us. So, Ruth.
I just wanted to add an example of a real time what I experienced. I was an administrative assistant for a company in City of Vernon. They determined that they can actually recycle hangers. And so they recycled tons of hangers and sold them to other companies and made millions of dollars in profit. So that is something that I just wanted to share, kind of like insightful of another experience, something that what Michael was trying to explain.
Thank you for sharing. I just would like to say, unfortunately, recycling is a great tool, but in bad hands. The waste industry turn it in their profit center, and they do not aim to have less waste. This is why Industry 5.0 will never be supported by waste industry.
Yeah.
And they try really everything to eliminate myself, but I have nothing, they cannot take anything from me. And these are, for example, the real vinyl records sourced in a real factory. This factory throw away every single day up to 10,000 pieces as a waste.
Well, Ruth, thank you for sharing. I'll talk to you more about that example in class because I'm interested. And for Vipin, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you to bring us home.
So thank you very much, Michael, for sharing very wonderful insights, very authentic, and something very tangible for our students. Gives us a very different and new perspective to implement in our lives and to see how we can make it mainstream. And I want to thank Professor Elizabeth Castillo as well for moderating the session so beautifully. And all of you, all the students, for making time available. We have recorded the session. Michael, if you give us permission, we'll share this with our students so that it gets broader audience.
I will share with you the presentation. And may I ask one last favor from all of you? If you can switch your camera and can we make a screenshot? And I will explain why. If I find someone who really understands, we make a screenshot with this sign. And this sign in Industry 5.0 does not mean Michael Rada is #1 or you. No, it means we follow one aim. And this aim is to build wasteless world for all. And it's great if we make a screenshot with everyone having the thumb up, understanding the same. But I do understand if you cannot, I do understand. But who can join and we can make the screenshot. So many thanks a lot. So 3, 2, 1, smile, please. And let me check if it's saved, because sometimes I have the issue with saving. Yes, it is there. So I will share the picture with you. And I would like to thank you, everyone, and have a nice time free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, be free, and be human. That's important.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you, Coyotes, for joining us. And we look forward to discussing more with you when we see you. So bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.